I am cordysimpson, and welcome to the Biology 12 video on cellular respiration. We'll begin with describing what cellular respiration is and where cellular respiration takes place in the cell and in the body. We will also answer the question, why does the cell use cellular respiration reaction? I'm just going to grab my pen here. Now, before we get started in the video, I'd like to go over some of the vocabulary just so you can keep on track with everything. Mitochondria is an organelle in the cell that creates energy for the cell to use to carry out the cell's daily activities. Glucose is a simple sugar from carbohydrates, such as bread or crackers. And finally, ATP is a nucleotide with 3 phosphate groups. The breakdown of ATP to ADP plus a phosphate group makes energy available for energy-requiring processes in the cell. Now, often when students hear cellular respiration or learn about cellular respiration for the first time, they believe it refers to breathing, inhaling and exhaling. But that is incorrect. Cellular respiration. So what is it? It is actually a chemical reaction in which molecules of glucose are oxidized to synthesize or create ATP molecules. Now this here is a balanced chemical equation for cellular respiration in which glucose becomes completely oxidized to carbon dioxide. So this is the oxidation process here. And the oxygen becomes reduced to water molecules. So this is called a oxidation reduction reaction, or a redox reaction for short. So we have 1 glucose molecule plus 6 oxygen molecules react to form 6 carbon dioxide molecules plus 6 water molecules, plus energy, which translates into about 36 or 38 ATP molecules. This here is the word equation for cellular respiration. So glucose plus oxygen react to form carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Let's take a look at the reactants of this reaction. Where does the oxygen come from for this reaction? Well, it comes from the air that we breathe in or inhale. Where does the glucose come for this reaction? It comes from the carbohydrates in the food that's digested in our small intestine. Well, once the reaction is finished, where does the water go? The water can actually remain in the mitochondria or the cell, or it can diffuse into the bloodstream to be excreted by the kidneys. And what about the carbon dioxide? What happens with that waste product? The carbon dioxide actually diffuses out of the mitochondria and the cell to enter the bloodstream. The blood will then carry the carbon dioxide to the lungs where it's exhaled. And obviously the energy is used by the cell. So ATP is this great molecule that's created from the cellular respiration reaction. But what actually is it? ATP is a nucleotide with 3 phosphate groups. When a cell needs energy, it simply removes 1 phosphate group, which releases energy that the cell then uses to carry out its daily activities. So I'm actually going to draw out you this ATP reaction. So right now I'm just drawing the ATP molecule. There's 1 phosphate group, 2 phosphate groups, and 3 phosphate groups. So this is ATP. And when it reacts to release energy, it looks like this. Still have the A up here. And we still have one phosphate group, two phosphate groups. However, the other phosphate group has been released, and that also releases the energy that the cell requires. So, where does cellular respiration actually occur? This event all takes place within the location of the mitochondria in the cell. The first step of oxidizing the glucose, called glycolysis, actually occurs outside of the mitochondria. So number 9 here refers to one mitochondria here and another one over here. So glycolysis occurs outside the mitochondria, then the reactants and products move into the mitochondria to complete the final 2 steps of the cellular respiration reaction. Those 2 steps are called the citric acid cycle, as well as the electron transport chain. We know that the mitochondria carries out this cellular respiration reaction constantly, as the cell always needs energy. So let's take a little bit of a closer look about how the structure of the mitochondria relates to the function of the mitochondria. The folds of the inner cristae on the inner membrane of the mitochondria are folded to increase the surface area for the number of reactions that can actually occur in the mitochondria, which means that more reactions can take place at one time. If the mitochondria looked like this, we still have its double membrane layer, but then they weren't folded as they are here in the real mitochondria, there would be less surface area, therefore less reactions would take place, therefore less energy would be created. So that's why the internal cristae are folded in that way to increase the surface area, which ends up producing more energy for the cell. Now here's a question. Do some cells have more mitochondria than other cells? The answer is yes. Now, unicellular organisms usually only have one mitochondria. However, there are areas in the human body that require more energy than others. Locations in the body that have a lot of active transport taking place or a lot of movement require a lot of energy, also known as ATP. So where are these areas exactly? So let's start by looking at the areas in the body that do a lot of active transport. Liver cells actually have 1,000 to 2,000 mitochondria per liver cell because so much active transport is taking place as the liver is constantly filtering all the blood. The other place where a lot of active transport takes place is the kidney, as it is extracting the urine from the bloodstream for excretion. Now, areas in the body where a lot of active movement take place are the muscles, such as the cardiac muscle in the heart, as well as the sperm cells, which require a lot of mitochondria for swimming. The mitochondria actually encapsulate the flagellum of the mitochondria. So why does the cell use cellular respiration for energy rather than some other chemical reaction? The cell uses cellular respiration because the reactants are readily available in the environment. The plants provide the oxygen that is needed through the process of photosynthesis, and the plants also provide the glucose required when fruits and vegetables are eaten by a human. So that brings us to the end of the lesson. Let's review the key ideas. First of all, cellular respiration is the chemical reaction which oxidizes glucose to create energy for the cell. Secondly, the location of where this all takes place is in the mitochondria in the cell throughout the entire human body. Areas that are rich with mitochondria cells are the liver, kidney, muscles, and sperm. And finally, the cell uses cellular respiration as its primary energy source because reactants are easily obtained from plants by the human body. And also, the energy produced from one ATP is just the correct amount for most cellular reactions and activities. So that brings us to the end of cellular respiration. Thanks for watching.